Hello, I am niche YouTuber number 4972, and I am here to complain about a video game you probably weren't gonna buy anyways. For real though, this is gonna be an entirely separate video, and then I actually played this port and completely course-corrected the entirety of my upload plans. It's that bad. Also, quick note, if you're wondering why this video looks like Petscop, it's because it's a... Oh, yeah, thanks. It's not like I was gonna explain that, dick. Atlus is a great company when it comes to making games. They're just bad at everything else. They really showed their Sega side during the 25th anniversary of Sissy Yakuza, with the only big announcement for the vast majority of it being a re-release of a game that 2 of the 3 big consoles didn't even know the context of, and it didn't even come to Xbox anyways. Holy shit. The rest of it was a beautiful concoction of concerts that were only in Japan, a re-release of 3's movies, and toothpaste. Riveting. And it wasn't until the very end when we got the announcement that Persona 5, 4, and 3 were coming to modern consoles, finally breaking that self-created stranglehold that Atlus made on their profit margin. But boy oh boy, the trailer that announced this shit sure was the most monkey's paw-esque shit I have ever seen. Oh great monkey's paw, please let Atlus release the best Persona game on a modern console so I don't have to break out my PS2 and get my eyeballs bleached out by 480p resolution. He's probably fine. But calling it a monkey's paw is a disservice because not only was it a port of 3 portable, but it was also a bad one too, so it's more like a monkey's fucking skeletal system. However, before I get into the scriptures, I'm gonna have to explain some of the discourse that existed before the game even came out, which was because of the version they chose. Starting with Persona 3, every Persona game would get a pretty inarguable definitive edition, the Pokemon Emerald of the Persona series to be more exact. 1 and 2 got their PSP ports, and 4 and 5 got Golden and Royale respectively. So it's easy to pick which one you port over because I don't think anyone's really vouching for Persona 5 Vanilla to come to Xbox, but with 3, oh no, it can't be that simple. You see, Persona 3 released on July 13th, 2006 in Japan, and less than a year later, literally less than a year later, I counted it, 280 days later, an updated re-release of the game was released called Persona 3 Fest, which first of all is what the fuck, and second of all is how the hell? Crunch is probably the answer. Fest was your standard Royale affair, the base game just with a bunch of added content, and 2 years later, another version for the PSP was released called Persona 3 Portable, and you would really think that Portable would just be Fest on the go, but with a couple of compromises. Not so, because for some reason, these are vastly different games. Starting off with what Fest has, it's the original vanilla version just tweaked a bit. It has a 3D overworld, fully animated cutscenes, and a completely new epilogue called The Answer. And it's not a small epilogue either, no, it's an over 30-hour campaign that ties up the loose ends and directly bleeds over into other games that take place after this. And as much as people don't really like The Answer, it's essential to understanding the story of 4 Arena. Portable, on the other hand, had to make a lot of compromises to fit the hardware, and as such, there's no 3D overworlds and no cutscenes, instead opting to use JPEGs to act as the overworld and opting for a more visual novel style to tell the story. This isn't the greatest thing, especially with how heavy 3 story can get and how not great a bunch of cardboard cutouts can sell it, leaving a lot of its most prominent scenes to feel less impactful and at worst, completely flat. The Answer was also completely cut, but to make up for this, Portable included a bunch of quality of life improvements and new additions. You can directly control your party members, which you couldn't do in Fest, which I will say was a completely intentional design choice. A horrible design choice, but a design choice nonetheless. It also added a missing person side objective for Tartarus, more costumes, the ability to have a part-time job, which is pretty useless, but it's still there. And the biggest one, and the reason why people even give a shit about this version, is because it added a completely separate female main character to the game, who has her own separate campaign with different social links and story beats. The first and last time they would ever do this. Looking at both strengths and weaknesses for each version, it's pretty easy to say that Portable is better, but as much as I love Katone and her story, I'd still say that Fest is the better game. You can add as much stuff as you want, but it really doesn't weaken the blow of how gutted the story becomes. But Portable is what they chose, monkey paw be damned, and people sure did air their grievances about this decision, with a lot of people just asking why they couldn't combine the best of both versions to make the Ultimate Edition. And the answer to that is get real. But I do get why they chose Portable to port over. I really do. Like I said, the answer is divisive, to say the best, and the inability to control your party members would definitely throw off a lot of people. I don't really see people who jumped on the series for 5 getting jiggy with the fact that you can't tell people what to do. Even more damning, and probably the biggest reason, is Fest is running off completely outdated tech. The game is made using renderware, which has been inactive for like 2 console generations. It is entirely possible for them to port the game over to a different engine, but I kind of get the feeling that they wanted this to be a more of a quick buck endeavor instead of a way too much fucking effort endeavor. So I understand them not wanting to do that. What I don't understand is why they felt the need to bukake Portable. Oh boy, here we go. Here we fucking go. The most blatantly obvious discrepancy is how it looks, because it looks like someone smeared a PSP in Vaseline.
That's fine.
I thought we learned our lesson with using AI to upscale games after the nightmare that was GTA to Trilogy to Definitive Edition, but I guess not, because my god, this looks unpassable. AI art has come a long way, but AI upscaling is still so boogered. An easy example would be in my movement shooter video. I couldn't find a proper good quality image of the Windows XP pop-up screen, so I just grabbed one and AI upscaled it, and at first glance, it looks completely fine, until you actually look at the Windows logo and it's what the fuck. That what the fuck is how the entire game looks. From the first screen of the game, it is so apparent that the AI just completely fumbled this. It looks immediately bad. The split in the screen is a fucking
Late. I've been waiting a long time.
Shut the fuck up, Yuri. You can't even read the fucking calendar. And oh my fucking god, this might be the worst room I've seen. I'm not fucking playing this. I got enough. That's enough. I'm gonna go back to working on the Titanfall part. I don't have solid proof of this because the development of this port is kinda cagey, but I've heard that the game was upscaled using Waifu 2X, which is a free upscaling software. You have got to be kidding me. Now, I'll admit, I'll play devil's advocate. Some scenes look okay, but others look like everywhere at the end of time. And it's not just the backgrounds, it's the UI and menus too. Some of the menu text isn't even flush with itself. Like, how does that happen? The portraits themselves actually look pretty alright, and you can kind of drone out the world around you and focus on the story for a little bit, but the moment you take your eyes off the portraits, you're sunk back in the slime city. But whatever, you know what, whatever. It's not the worst thing possible. Remasters have a tendency to completely destroy the visuals of a game they're mastering. But what's even better is that literally every other aspect of the game is also not good, like the sound.
Here goes.
Okay, for this one, I genuinely do not know what the hell happened. I don't know if they lost the original source files and some intern had to record the audio off his PSP into a Nokia speaker, but like, how the hell does this happen? Even if they did lose the original source files, the game has been ROM dumped online. I'm pretty sure they could snag it from there if they really needed to. I'm baffled at how this sounds worse than the PSP version.
Here goes.
Did they get Vaseline into the game speakers too?
All of that goes in the blue.
Hell, beyond that, some sounds are just straight up broken, like the sounds of the shadows running away when you're overpowered is just straight up gone. what? And then there's the fact that there's literally no quality of life improvements. Even Portable had outdated concepts, like the inability to choose what skills carry over and the fact that you can't even sort your own movesets. But no, they didn't even bother fixing that. They just added a quick save feature that is kind of useful, I guess, situationally. You gotta give them credit though, they added the custom difficulty stuff from 4, except they didn't, and it's way more limited for no reason, oh my god. But hey, speaking of additions, there's achievements in this game too, too bad they don't fucking work. And at the time of writing this, there is no patch for these, so if you get to a point where they are supposed to pop and they don't, I guess you're just gonna have to replay your 100-hour video game again, fuck you. They don't give Makoto the ability to turn down girls, but oh, let's let Katone still date a child, nothing out of place there. But let's ignore that and check out some of them other languages that the game now supports. Uh-oh, they forgot to credit the translators. I'm losing my mind. And sometimes for no reason, the game will just bust out Japanese kanji instead of whatever language it's supposed to have, which is a problem in the original version that they didn't even fix. What the? Literally everything is wrong with this. How did they make it past QA? And evidently this isn't even the first time they've pulled this shit. The remaster for Nocturne was evidently horrible with a lot of the same problems. How can you make some of the best games of that console generation, yet make some of the biggest blunders I've seen since the Dreamcast? God, you must really like Sega, huh, Atlus? What's worse is that this had an effect on the sales dramatically. 3 is sitting at an all-time peak of 3,515 on Steam, while 4 has a 29,984 peak, and 5 has a 35,474 player peak. Even Strikers had a bigger peak of 8,730. And Persona 5 was still stuck on the PlayStation at the time. They had no idea what the hell was happening, and it still beat a fully fledged mainline game. The negative press this remaster got did not do it any favors, which sucks because companies usually take that kind of data to be like, oh hey, I guess they don't like 3, so we'll never do anything with 3 again. It's like, no, you gave us a horrible version. You gave us the lesser of the 2 definitive versions with literally everything wrong with it on a technical level. At least this shit's on Game Pass because it sure isn't worth the $20 admission fee. If you really want to play 3, I highly recommend getting a PS2 and a copy of Fest. Nowadays, that purchase will only cost you like $100 at most. And if you have a computer, then just port the game. The modding community for both of these games are fucking cracked and have completely redone multiple parts of both games, adding things like direct commands and Fest, and even fixing some of the answer shortcomings to a mod that's making the effort to add Katone to Fest's cutscenes. Like, what? Effort that Atlus clearly doesn't want to make. You never like seeing a game you adore be completely mistreated by the company that made it. It's still playable. Portable is a good game after all, a very compromised one, but still a good one. But the problem is that it's just the most accessible version of 3 now, and it's a version I think is the worst version of a lesser version of the 2 definitive versions. But it's gonna be the version that a lot of people will experience 3 for the first time with, and that kinda sucks. But hey, it might not be all doom and gloom though, because the guy that leaked that these were even coming out in the first place said that evidently 3 is getting a full-on remake in the Persona 5 engine, which makes a lot of sense because they already made so many of the models for the dancing game, so why not recycle them for a full remake? Take it with a huge grain of salt though, it's still a rumor at this point. I guarantee though that if the remake does come out, it's probably not going to have any of Portable's content or the answer, just watch. Alright, the little goblin in my head is content for now. Now I can actually get back to the video I was going to make before this. So look forward to that, and subscribe, because this whole video was an IP trap. I now know where you live. You are no longer safe.
Okay.
Do it again, you missed. in the same spot. Buddy.
Oh.
Buddy.
Oh, no.
How are you keep missing?
God damn it. Oh, hold on. Oh my god.
How do you keep fucking... Don't smear it on the table.
Damn it. Oh my god.